One of the most complicated aspects of living on a boat is finding insurance for that boat. We've been doing a lot of work on this, and we'd like to show you some things you might want to be thinking about as you're looking for insurance for your boat. We're Bill and Lisa, and we've got a plan to move from living on land to living on a boat. There's a lot to learn and a lot to do for us to get there. To make it happen, we've got a 32-foot tug. That's our classroom that we've named Three Ravens. So join us on this journey of a lifetime. I just really want to make it clear that we are not advocating any particular company, any particular broker, any particular plan. Each person's situation is different, and each person will have to find a plan and a company or a broker that meets their particular needs and the needs of their boat. However, we've spent a lot of time talking to various brokers, a whole lot of companies. We've learned a lot of things that we want to pass along to you, things to be thinking about now that can help you to find a plan that meets the needs of your boat and yourselves, and maybe saves you a few $1,000s in the process. However, we want to emphasize that getting the least expensive plan may not always be the best deal. To really understand marine insurance, it can be very helpful to understand how it all started. Well, it all began in a small coffee house in London, Lloyd's Coffee House. Today, Lloyd's of London is one of the largest insurance companies in the world. These ship owners got together to try to figure out what they could do to mitigate their losses if one of their ships were to sink, bringing down thousands of dollars worth of goods, which could bankrupt that person. And they realized that if they all chipped in together a little bit of money, that way if one of their boats sank, that money would go to him and everybody would be okay. This was the birthplace of insurance. So insurance really started with marine insurance. So I try to think about these men sitting around Lloyd's Coffee House, basically inventing insurance and enjoying a good flagon of coffee, when all of a sudden some man walks in and says, "Hey guys, thinking about getting into the shipping business. Don't have any experience, don't know much about sailing, and I'm thinking about buying a boat. It's kind of leaky and rusty. My crew is a bunch of drunks I picked up on the street. Hey, what do you think? Should I make a go for it?" They probably would say, "Take a hike." But if they did decide to insure this fellow, you can bet they're going to charge him a whole lot more money. So to save yourself some money, it becomes very important to be able to demonstrate your competence, the quality of your boat, the history, the workmanship, your experience, whatever training you may have. All of these factors can go into how much you're going to pay for your insurance. In order to do this, we've broken this down into 3 different areas, each equally important. First of all, what kind of a plan do you want to have? What exactly are you insuring? Second of all, what kind of experience and background do you have? In other words, these are the kinds of things that can make an insurance company feel a little more comfortable about insuring you. And then third, and maybe most importantly, how do you plan to use your boat? When and where will you be cruising? Each one of these has a profound impact on how much you're going to spend once you get your insurance. Most full-time cruisers prefer to have what's known as an agreed-on policy. This means that you and the insurance company agree on what they will pay in the event of a loss. That might be 100% of the value of the boat, known as the hull value. However, some people will go even higher. Maybe they've put a tremendous amount of work into the boat they think has some value. Perhaps they've got all of their worldly belongings on board, as many full-time liveaboards do. So they may prefer to insure 100, 125, 150% of the value of the boat. However, most boaters don't completely lose their boat, but need some regular repairs. Maybe there's been some damage. So you want to find out in advance how much will the insurance company pay in parts and labor. Will they pay for original parts or aftermarket parts? Do they have a limit on what the yard can charge? Finding these things out in advance can be crucial in the event of a claim. And while most of us don't like to think of it, it's important to find out what they're willing to pay to salvage your boat in the event that it does sink. It can often cost as much, even more than the value of the boat in order to salvage it. And as if to add insult to injury, the mandated cost of recovering the fuel and oil can be even more expensive than the price of the boat. Now remember the guy I was talking about walking into Lloyd's coffee house with no experience and a leaky boat? You're probably thinking, well, I'm not that guy. But on the other hand, how does your insurance company know you're not that guy? One thing you can, and really should be doing right now, is keeping a logbook of all of the hours you're spending on your boat, whatever boat that is. We also found it a lot of fun to look back over the cold winter months at some of the fun times we've had during the summer. Now you can spend anywhere from $30 to $200 on a professionally made logbook, but we found it just as effective and a whole lot cheaper to just take a 3-ring notebook, make up a nice cover, and fill out our own logbook. As we're all stuck at home now with this pandemic, it's a wonderful time to brush up on some learning, and there are any number of companies that offer online courses that you can be taking. Be sure to get yourself a certificate that you can provide to the insurance company showing not only your training, but your interest in improving your skills. Now, I've found a classic paradox when a lot of insurance companies would ask me, well, how much experience do you have navigating in the Bahamas? Well, I don't have any because I don't have a boat, and I don't have a boat because I don't have insurance. Fortunately, there are a number of companies that offer charters in the Bahamas where you can take a bareboat cruise for a vacation and gain experience. And if this pandemic ever ends, we hope to be taking a vacation that will also give us some cruising experience. All of these boats are fairly safe this winter. Nothing's going to happen to them. Wrapped tightly in plastic, stored on land. They're going to be very safe this winter.
Yeah, and our boat's all safe and snug inside a big warehouse.
If you happen to be down in the hurricane belt, the insurance company is going to get real worried about you, and you don't want your insurance company worried about you. Now, if you're one of the 98+% of boaters who enjoy a little weekend cruising, never venture more than a few miles from shore, this probably won't pertain to you. In these situations, you can usually just go online to one of the top boat insurance companies, fill out an online form, and get a quick quote. However, if you're planning on cruising more than, say, 75 miles offshore, as we are, you're going to need a special kind of insurance known as ocean marine insurance. These are the guys that insure the big ships, but it's not necessarily a bad thing because they're going to be much more likely to work with you to understand your specific needs and your agenda. There are a lot of companies that provide this kind of insurance, both in the U.S. and in England, and it's probably best to work with a broker you trust to find the policy that works for you. When Hurricane Dorian slammed into the Bahamas in 2019, it caused billions of dollars in damage. And this really rocked the insurance industry. As a result, they've created something that they call the Hurricane Box. And while it can vary from company to company, it's generally considered to be a little bit south of Florida and a little north of Grenada. So if you happen to be cruising in the Hurricane Box, say between June and November, the insurance companies are going to get real nervous. And when insurance companies get real nervous, you end up paying a lot more. However, as can be seen here, most hurricanes head west and then track north. If you wanted to stay out of the way of Hurricane Dorian, you wouldn't even be safe in Nova Scotia, as it made landfall there as a Category 2 hurricane. So most people head down to Grenada, which is below the Hurricane Box, but still not completely immune from storms. Some people who elect to stay in the Caribbean will pull their boats out of the water onto the land, but even that's not a guarantee, because storm surges can often knock boats right off their jack stands, destroying them. Whatever it is that you plan to do, your insurance company is going to be asking you to present them with a hurricane plan, your plan of how you plan to stay safe during the hurricane season. So we can see that for people who want to do extended full-time offshore cruising, an awful lot goes into finding and choosing the right insurance. And the worst time to do that is right after you purchase the boat. We are about a year away from purchasing our boat, and yet we're spending an awful lot of time right now talking to insurance agencies and brokers. We suggest you do the same. Good luck to you on your journey. Thanks for joining us on our journey, as we've learned an awful lot and have a lot of fun. We're Bill and Lisa, and we're going to live on a boat.